The music of Draco the Ruler, whose real name is Darrell Caldwell, details life in South Los Angeles with lyrics that are graphic, violent, and clever.
I might just lose it where you find these niggas Disney Channel, they real goofy.
By 2018, he was on his way to becoming part of LA's rap elite, according to the Los Angeles Times, following in the paths of artists like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and NWA.
Straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube, from the gang called niggas with attitude.
But Caldwell was arrested on murder charges. In his trial, his lyrics and videos were used as evidence against him.
Get the blows #1, but every nigga around me greedy with the two state team. Bleeding, getting calls from my receiver, and we really gotta go left.
Prosecutors allege that Caldwell was a part of a botched plot to kill a rival at a party he attended in December 2016. Allegedly, in the midst of a shootout, he and his gang had accidentally murdered 24-year-old Davion Gregory. Prosecutors said Caldwell rapped about his crimes.
I'm riding around town with a Tommy gun and a jag, and you can disregard the yelling RJ tied up in the back.
Prosecutors are becoming even bolder in their attempts to use these laws, taking cases to ridiculous extremes. Draco's is one example.
Eric Nielsen, a liberal arts professor at the University of Richmond, is the co-author of Rap on Trial, a book chronicling the growing use of rap lyrics in criminal proceedings. The jury in Caldwell's trial rejected the prosecution's theory. He was convicted on just one count, illegal gun possession. Separate charges of criminal gang conspiracy and shooting from a vehicle resulted in a hung jury, so prosecutors opted to retry him on the remaining charges. Allegedly, as a member of the gang implicated by the prosecution, Caldwell had benefited from Gregory's murder, which, under California's penal code, means he could be sentenced to life in prison. Caldwell is currently in the Los Angeles County Men's Central Jail awaiting trial.
And we don't know what's going to happen in the trial. We don't know if the lyrics and the videos might come into play, but they did last time.
They did last time, fairly extensively, and I suspect that they will again. I think many people find it difficult to imagine that these young men are doing something complex, sophisticated, that could be considered literary, artistic. It's much easier to say, oh, they're just rapping about their lives. And that's precisely why prosecutors are bringing it in. I think many of them understand that they are misrepresenting rap lyrics. They know that they're doing that. They're doing it because they want the jury to see this stuff that is, salacious, it's profane, and therefore you're compromising somebody's right to a fair trial.
Nielsen says that prosecutors who take rap lyrics literally don't understand the art form, which first emerged in New York City's South Bronx in the 1970s.
South Bronx, a national symbol for urban decay.
Street gangs really reigned supreme in the South Bronx, and there were hundreds of fighting street gangs across New York City. And so what you saw with hip hop was that it really was, at least for some of the early founders of the movement, it really was seen as a productive and creative alternative to gang life. It drew on the territoriality of gang life, it drew on the inherent competitiveness of it, but it was a way to take something that was destructive and turn it into something productive, something artistic.
Rappers created fictionalized versions of themselves, influenced by blaxploitation films and the work of pimp-turned-author Iceberg Slim. Gangster rap didn't start garnering massive mainstream appeal until 1991, when Billboard changed its methodology for calculating its famous music rankings. Instead of calling record store managers and taking them at their word about what was selling, the company started counting the barcode sales of transactions. Gangster rap catapulted to the top of the charts, and record companies took notice.
That still is seen by many as the formula for success in rap music. That's not to say there aren't exceptions. There are the Will Smiths and the MC Hammers and whatever else, but generally speaking, especially with amateurs, they see the sort of gangster rap model or regional variations of gangster rap. They see that as the pathway to success because they have many models where that has been true.
Bitch niggas wanna come and get a taste. They don't get it till they catch a red bottom to the face. No case, young niggas shooting shit out of Delta 88 with a temporary place.
Yes, it's hyperbolic, it's over the top, and it not only embraces stereotypes about young black men, it doubles down on them. It exaggerates the criminality intentionally. It doubles down on the violence. It doubles down on the hypersexuality. So it's a form that is very aware of the stereotypes that many people hold about young black men, and it revels in them and sort of flips them on their head. And that's what's so interesting about it, is that it's taken something very negative and turned it into its own art form.
When did you start seeing it in criminal proceedings?
You had these early cases in the 1990s that sort of laid the foundation for this practice. And then what happened is that prosecutors started targeting these lyrics more explicitly. You had training manuals. One of the ones that we cite in the book is actually from Alan Jackson, who was a former prosecutor in Los Angeles, that encourages police and prosecutors to look for lyrical evidence in order to portray somebody as a thug or a gangster. And so word started to spread, and professionally prosecutors are talking to each other the same way that defense attorneys do. And what they saw was that it became successful, not only in that it could secure convictions when you didn't have much evidence, but also that you were not likely to get overturned on appeal. And so it started to solidify.
Nielsen says that another turning point came around 2008 with the rise of social media.
We see a lot more cases. That's largely because there's far more material out there now, right? If you want to disseminate your music, now you don't need a record label, you don't need the radio, you don't need anything. You can go directly using YouTube or SoundCloud, very low barriers to entry. And so you saw a proliferation of this music out there in videos that have become increasingly easy to produce, right? You can make professional looking videos with a phone now. With the sort of proliferation of these videos and songs all across the internet, you saw also a proliferation of the policing of those songs.
Nielsen's legal testimony and writings about the misuse of rap in criminal proceedings have brought more attention to the issue. In March 2019, he partnered with Grammy Award-winning rapper Killer Mike in filing an amicus brief with the U.S. Supreme Court in defense of a Pittsburgh rapper named Jamal Knox sent to prison for making terroristic threats to police officers in a song. The High Court declined to hear the case, but Knox, having served his time, still has that terroristic threat conviction on his record, which could affect him for the rest of his life.
So Killer Mike is someone who wrote a foreword for your book. Can you read just the highlighted portion here?
All right. Right now, aspiring rap artists need to know they are being targeted by the authorities, and they need to balance their right to free speech and their desire to push the envelope of free speech with the reality that police are watching.
Caldwell's trial is expected to begin in early 2020, and it's possible prosecutors will use his lyrics in videos again. Caldwell's time in jail has been difficult. He's spent time in solitary confinement and at least at one point thought about giving up music altogether.
Are we in the midst of a chilling effect on an art form?
It's very hard to measure a chilling effect, because a chilling effect is essentially you are creating the conditions where people are no longer producing things or are less likely to produce things. So it's tough to measure the absence of something. But I do see this as potentially chilling, especially as prosecutors become bolder in the ways and strategies that they're using to put rap artists in jail. I do think that we are reaching a point at which many people are going to have to weigh their desire to engage in this art form, to master this art form. They're going to have to weigh that with the reality that it could get them in trouble. As these cases continue to grow in number, I do think that is absolutely possible.
I know I think I sound cold, but if you walk up in my shoes, you understand that it's right. Shit, just shit, I need niggas to understand. Understand this is right.